It is 5 in the morning. I'm running on like 6 hours of sleep, and we are about to go 500 something miles all the way back to Arkansas. And yes, I said we, not I, because I am taking you along with me whether you like it or not. But before we get going, we gotta have the breakfast of champions. I was gonna cook something, but instead an energy drink so that I don't die. And then I'm about to go to the donut place and get some donut holes. Of course, they didn't have donut holes because it's so early in the morning, but I got the next best thing and got just regular donuts. You know what? I'll take what I can get, boy. And I sit here and eat my very sad breakfast.
1 hour later.
We've got a full tank of gas and a nearly infinite supply of hubris, so it's time to get on the road. Unfortunately, since I left at about 6:30 in the morning on a weekday, the first 30 to 40 minutes or so of the ride were spent dealing with early morning traffic, as every parent in Northwest Houston tried to get their kids to school on time. Little annoying, but it is what it is, I guess. It would have been much more bearable if Google Maps hadn't kept trying to take me on toll roads even after I specifically set it to avoid them. I swear this fucking app has it out to get me, man. Of course, as soon as we actually started to get away from Houston traffic, I felt my tailbag start sliding towards me. Obviously, I pulled over at the first gas station I saw and tightened the straps just to be safe. I wasn't about to lose half of my stuff on the highway like the last time I made this trip. You know, we're trying to be at least a little cautious this time around. With the straps now as tight as I can get them, we got back on the road, and just like that, all my hubris was gone, as I spent the whole rest of the trip paranoid about losing my tailbag. Everyone needs a little reality check every now and then, I guess. Gotta keep my ego in check somehow. You'd think my fairings would have already been enough to do the job, but nah. You gotta add some tailbag anxiety into the mix just for good measure. And yes, in case you haven't noticed yet, most of this video is just gonna be voiceover. I'm not a moto vlogger, okay? I am merely cosplaying as one just for this video. So I don't have the proper setup to record my mic on long trips. I don't got a chin mount, a GoPro, and a fancy microphone all set up together. I've just got an old Insta360, a sketchy mount, and a dream. I'm doing what I can with what I've got, alright? Don't want to set y'all's expectations too high just yet. And wow, would you look at that? In the midst of my blabbing, we've made it to our first gas stop. It's now 8:38 in the morning, and we are 132 miles into the trip. We've been on the road for close to an hour and a half already, and we're barely even scratching the surface of the full trip, unfortunately. But regardless of how much we have ahead, we still need to get gas. For those 132 miles, I only needed to put 1.8 gallons in my tank, coming out to $5.45. Not bad. With that out of the way, we can get back on the road, and I can get back to blabbing. Now, I wish I could say I was out there having tons of fun on the road, going fast and shit, but that is very much not the case here. I was getting passed by people left and right, even with me allegedly going 5 to 10 over the speed limit. I'll be honest, it did hurt my pride a little bit being passed by so many people, but I'm not taking any chances this time around. We are avoiding Alma, Texas at all costs and not going more than 10 over the speed limit, as I can't afford to get another $300 speeding ticket. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And speaking of last time I made this trip, I've gotta say, this time went so much smoother. It's honestly insane. I mean, it's almost funny how much shit went wrong last time I went to Arkansas. But I'm not gonna give all the credit to just sheer dumb luck, because believe it or not, I learned a couple lessons from the previous disaster, and things ended up going way better as a result. I know, it's surprising. Me learning, making changes, it's crazy. And one big difference is something that you honestly may not expect or really even think about if you don't ride motorcycles yourself, which is the earplugs I wore this time around were different from the ones I wore last time. I went from quote-unquote fancy earplugs that apparently don't do nearly as much as I thought they did, to some cheap foam earplugs that were way better at making things bearable. I feel like pretty much everyone knows that motorcycles are loud, but a good chunk of people don't know just how loud they are. And more than that, they don't realize how loud the fucking wind is. Yeah, bikes are loud, but once you get over a certain speed, you're not really even gonna hear your bike at all because of just how overbearing the wind is. I mean, it obviously varies depending on your helmet and what bike you have and all that fun stuff. But from what I can see online, even just going 50 miles per hour puts you at about 92 decibels. And once you get up to highway speeds above 70 miles per hour, car, you're over 100 decibels from the wind alone. That's the same as a train passing right by you. So, you know, for a couple seconds, it's not too bad, but for hours on end, that shit sucks. It's mind-numbing. So, obviously, I wore earplugs to keep from losing both my mind and my hearing. And, lesson learned, foam earplugs are best for long trips since they block out more sound. They may not be the most comfortable or convenient, but they make the wind noise a lot less noticeable, so I'd say it's a worthy trade-off. And wow, would you look at that, we made it to our second gas stop of the trip. Let me stop blabbing for a second so that we can fill her up. It is now 11:34 in the morning, and we are 169 miles farther than we were last time we stopped. I ended up putting a whole whopping 2.6 gallons in the tank this time around, coming out to $7.75. It's a little more than last time, but still not bad, all things considered. Okay, we are officially 300 miles into the trip. We're in a random city called Atlanta, Texas. I didn't even know this place existed until I got here, but I figured I'd do a little check-in since we are halfway through the journey. Before you say anything, I know some of you guys are looking at it. It's hard to ignore. So before you say anything, no, the bike is not duct taped. It's Gorilla taped. Get it right, okay? Very ugly, very scuffed, but like I wouldn't have it any other way. You know, that's just kind of my brand at this point, and I'm also way too broke to be able to blow $500 fucking on new fairings. So what we get. But so far, smooth sailing. Honestly, I can't believe it's already 11 o'clock. I've been up since 5, and it's 11, and we're halfway to our destination. And I'm chilling. My back doesn't hurt. My legs don't hurt. This is so fucking awkward. I hate this. I hate this. I'll record something else later, just checking in. Not too long after that awkward check-in, we finally made it across the Texas border over into Arkansas. Needless to say, I was pretty happy to see the Welcome to Arkansas sign. We've still got a little while to go before we actually get where we're going, but we're getting there bit by bit. With that said though, we're going to skip ahead a little bit here to our third gas stop of the trip since nothing really happened in between. So, it is now 2:07 in the afternoon. We've gone 143 uneventful miles since our last stop, and we are putting 2.2 gallons of gas in our tank. That's $6.60, so still not too bad, all things considered. And let me just say, I was fighting for my life trying to get back on the highway after I got done getting gas. Google Maps, the bastard, took me down some random service road since supposedly it was the fastest route. At first, it was fine. It was just a little narrow, there was some truck off to the side, and that's really it. But then it switched from paved to gravel. It started going downhill and had what looked like a really sharp turn at the end of the downhill. I'll be honest, I was kind of scared. I did not want to drop my bike. I have a decent amount of experience riding on gravel, but it's also been a while. It ended up turning out just fine though, since the turn wasn't nearly as sharp as the map made it look, and I was going pretty slow, so even if it was sharp, I most likely would have made it around just fine, especially since there was no one else on the road, so I had plenty of room to take the turn very wide. Once I made it past all the drama though, it was actually a pretty nice route. Like, I won't lie, I had a great time once we got past the gravel. It ended up leading to some random back road with trees all around, there were some twists here and there, and the occasional house. It was nice. It was pretty, and also had the added benefit that things were pretty smooth sailing from there. The vast majority of the last leg of the ride was spent just going straight on the interstate, jamming out to music, and just counting down the miles until I had to turn. It's a little boring, but honestly I'll take it. Now, since we are at the boring part of the trip and almost to our destination, it's time to play a fun little game I like to call What Part of My Body Hurts the Most Right Now? Is it A, my back, B, my butt, C, my hands, or D, my legs? Take your guess. 3, 2, 1. If you said A, you're dead wrong, bucko. It's actually C, believe it or not. My hands felt like they were in the fiery pits of hell for, I swear, like the last couple hours of the ride. I've discovered that my gloves are just slightly too big, and so that causes friction, which unfortunately causes pain. But in order of the most to least painful parts of my body at the end of the trip, I'd say we're sitting at hands, ass, toes, and knees. Believe it or not, my back didn't hurt at all. Or at the very least, every time it started to hurt just a little bit, it immediately got drowned out by my hands screaming in agony. And I unfortunately don't have any footage of me actually arriving at my destination, because of course my camera died right before I got there. Like, I'm talking, I want to say maybe 10 or 15 minutes before I got where I was going, it died. So instead, you just get to see the last little clip it recorded. And that first half of the trip somehow ended up being 614 miles, despite Google Maps saying it was supposed to only be, I think, around 560. So either my odometer isn't accurate, or I went off course somewhere. Who knows? I used up 10.3 gallons of gas, spending a total of exactly $26, and our average mileage was 59.2 miles per gallon. And before you guys get confused, I know the title of the video says 1,200 miles, and we just went 600 miles, but that 1,200 is including the trip back to Texas from Arkansas, which unfortunately I didn't really record all that much of. So this last portion of the video is unfortunately going to seem a little rushed. I mean, the main reason I didn't record a whole lot on the way back is because I left at 3:30 in the morning, so a good chunk of the footage looks like this. Just this one little section you can see. I don't even know if I'm gonna put the rear footage of me over it, because you won't see anything. There's no lights. And even whenever I got on the interstate, it wasn't much better. Look at this shit. So I didn't record a whole lot because I knew it when it looked great, and I was also freezing my ass off. But I do have a couple clips here and there I can show you guys while I just talk about one last thing before we end this, okay? Now, I know that earlier in the video I said it's a marathon, not a sprint, and that there's no need to get in a rush and speed. But I'll be honest, my inner Arkansan came out on the way back, and that whole mentality kinda went out the window a little bit. I didn't go too crazy fast, because I mean, let's get real, my bike can't really go all that fast. It's basically a glorified scooter that tops out at like maybe 105 if you're lucky, but all the people around me throughout the trip were going at least 10 to 15 over the speed limit. So hypothetically speaking, of course, if we're all speeding, then no one's speeding, right? They can't catch us all. Just hypothetically speaking, you know, I'm a law-abiding citizen. I never commit misdemeanors on public roadways. Never. And with that rant out of the way, we are at the end of the trip and the end of the video. The odometer on my bike, if it is to be trusted, says that the total trip from Texas to Arkansas and then Arkansas back to Texas was 1,236.8 miles. I averaged about 58.7 miles per gallon, and I used up 21 gallons of gas, and I did not do the math on how much money I actually spent on gas. If I remember, I'll put it on the screen while I'm editing, but I make no promises there, as it is the day before I'm supposed to upload this. It is 2 in the morning and I still don't have this video done, so I'll be honest, I'm in a bit of a rush here. Which is very on brand for this channel. You know, it's a perfect segue to mention that time is always marching forward. There's nothing you can do to stop it. The only thing you can do is learn to make good use of what you got. But obviously I have not quite learned that yet. So I'm gonna stop blabbing so that I can spend the next 4 hours or some shit editing this video. Yeah, bye bye.